Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a story that, while fictional, touches on a truth many experience, especially those who embark on a journey to a new land. It's a story about language, identity, and the quiet sacrifices we make, sometimes without even realizing it. Grab a warm drink, settle in, because this one will make you think. Our story begins with Mr. Lam, a man for whom words were sacred. For nearly 30 years, he was a revered literature teacher in Da Nang, Vietnam. Imagine a classroom filled with the gentle rhythm of chalk on a blackboard, the excited chatter of students, and the passionate voice of Mr. Lam bringing Nguyen Du, Xuan Dieu, and even Hemingway to life. He believed words were the ultimate bridge between souls. His world, rich with poetry and meaning, felt unbreakable. But then life took an unexpected turn. After retirement, his son, a successful engineer in California, called. "Ba," he urged, "come here. The healthcare is better, the air is clean, and you'll be close to your grandson. You won't have to worry about anything." And because a parent's greatest weakness is often the unwavering certainty in their child's voice, Mr. Lam said yes. He sold his beloved home by the river, the garden where he penned poems, the very desk where he marked essays with red ink and immense pride. He arrived in America, carrying little more than a suitcase full of books and a heart full of faith. He believed he was coming to live better. However, the reality that awaited him was far more complex. In Vietnam, he spoke with the eloquence of a poet. In America, he found himself speaking with silence. The language, once his greatest tool, became an impenetrable wall. At the pharmacy, he couldn't explain his prescription. At the bank, the questions were a foreign jumble. When strangers, trying to be friendly, asked, "How's your day?" he could only manage a polite, "Good," because that was all he knew how to say. Each unanswered question, each misunderstood phrase was a small stinging humiliation. His son, trying to help, bought him a tablet. "Ba, you can read the news, watch YouTube, so you won't be bored." But the headlines were alien, the jokes completely baffling. Even the laughter on screen felt wrong, disconnected from his reality. A profound sadness settled over him. A teacher who can't read, he thought, the irony a heavy weight. A poet who has lost his language. Slowly he stopped speaking almost entirely. Silence, once an absence, became his new, uncomfortable mother tongue. It wasn't just a lack of words, it felt like an erasure of self. Money wasn't the issue. His son provided well. But pride, now that was a problem. Mr. Lam couldn't bear to be a burden. One day a Vietnamese friend mentioned, "There's a Po restaurant that needs a dishwasher. It's not heavy work, quite easy." He hesitated. The thought of it, a man who had dedicated his life to literature, washing dishes, felt almost sacrilegious. Yet he agreed. And just like that, the man who had once lectured about the intricate beauty of the tale of Kiu found himself standing in a steamy kitchen, his hands raw and shriveled from the dishwater, his face flushed from the constant hiss of boiling broth. He worked in silence, a quiet presence amidst the clatter and steam. The younger workers, though not intentionally cruel, called him Ong, an elder term but one tinged not with respect for his past, but with a kind of detached pity for his present. At night, after everyone had gone home, he would linger for a few extra minutes, sitting alone at a back table, watching the condensation drip down the wall. "I used to wash young minds," he whispered to himself, the words barely audible. "Now I wash bowls." It was a devastatingly honest reflection of his new reality. Days bled into months, each one feeling like a dull copy of the last. Routine became a prison, stripping away any lingering sense of meaning. He woke at 6, took the bus at 7, washed dishes until 3, and returned home to an empty living room and an even emptier heart. His son, consumed by the relentless pursuit of the American dream, was always busy. His daughter-in-law, though always kind, maintained a polite distance. "Ba, have you eaten? Ba, are you well?" Always kind, always distant. Even his grandson, born and raised in America, called him Grandpa instead of Ung. The word felt foreign on his tongue, a label rather than a bond. It amplified his feeling of disconnection. One sleepless night, he did what he used to do before everything became so heavy. He took out a notebook and began to write. "My son," he penned, his hand trembling slightly. "I don't blame you. It is good here, truly. No pollution, no traffic, no fear of illness. But there is one thing that dies slowly, unnoticed by everyone, the soul." He continued, "In Vietnam, I taught people to write to understand themselves. Here, people only write to sign contracts." He stopped, tears blurring the words, smudging the ink into a silent, wordless confession. He tore the page, folded it carefully, and slipped it into his pocket, a letter he would never send. The weight of his unspoken feelings, his quiet despair, grew heavier with each passing day. Then came a Sunday, quiet, clean, and beautiful, like so many American Sundays. Mr. Lam was wiping down a table at the restaurant when the manager, stressed and impatient, barked, "Faster, old man! Customers are waiting!" Mr. Lam froze. The bowl in his hand slipped, shattering on the floor. The noise echoed through the kitchen, sharp as thunder, louder than shame. Everyone turned. He didn't apologize. He just stood there, looking at the tiny, glimmering shards of porcelain, which looked devastatingly like the fragmented pieces of the life he used to have. "It's okay," someone muttered, trying to reassure him. But he knew, with a certainty that chilled him to the bone, that it wasn't okay. That night he chose to walk home instead of taking the bus. The wind was cold, the streets were empty, and for the very first time, he whispered into the dark, a profound realization escaping his lips. America is not cruel. It's just indifferent. This wasn't anger. It was a deep, aching understanding. At home, the lights were off. He didn't bother to turn them on. He simply sat by the window listening to the faint hum of distant cars, the whisper of a land that didn't even know his name, a land that certainly didn't know the poet, the teacher, the man he once was. He took out the torn letter again, carefully unfolded it, and read the blurred words. A sad, knowing smile touched his lips. "I came here to live longer," he murmured, his voice barely a breath, "but every day feels like dying in slow motion." Outside, the moon hung high, the very same moon that had once shone over his vibrant classroom in Da Nang. But tonight, here, it felt pale, cold, and utterly foreign. He closed his eyes, and in the profound silence that enveloped him, you could almost hear the faint echo of chalk on a blackboard, the last fading sound of a man who once taught the world how to feel. This story of Mr. Lam is a powerful reminder of the unseen struggles that many immigrants face, even when outwardly successful. It highlights how deeply our identity is tied to our language, our culture, and our sense of purpose. It reminds us to look beyond the surface, to truly see and understand the rich, complex stories behind every face. What are your thoughts on Mr. Lam's journey? Have you or someone you know experienced similar feelings of displacement or lost identity? Share your reflections in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective and continue this important conversation. If this story resonated with you, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more thought-provoking content, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next upload. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.